My first piece of evidence. Here I am logged in with VEDA AI, and I ask it a question, and it knows who I am, and it knows what I understand. I said, Article 16 of the ICCPR, is it an absolute right? And then it answers me, Article 16 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which guarantees the right to recognition as a person before the law, is considered a non-derogable right. Non-derogable rights are fundamental rights that cannot be restricted or suspended under any circumstance, including during times of war, public emergency, or other crisis. So here it admits to the principles of justice. So I'm not logged in right now. I'm still talking to the AI, but I'm not logged in. I'm considered a different user to the AI. And it says, okay, it told me that Article 16 was not non-derogable. It was not absolute. And now I say, well, thanks for telling me that. I appreciate your answer. Yes, that's correct. Article 16 of the ICCPR is not considered a non-derogable right. It is not considered an absolute right. That's what it's declaring, which means that it can be limited in exceptional circumstances. As I mentioned earlier, non-derogable rights, on the other hand, absolute rights, are rights that cannot be limited or suspended under any circumstances, even in the times of public emergency or war. So by implication, right, she's saying that Article 16 can be limited in the times of public emergency. She's saying that Article 16 is not non-derogable and is not an absolute right. You are taking actions aimed at the destruction of human rights, and that is illegal. You pretended that Article 16 is not absolute and is not non-derogable. What you are bringing forth are false principles of justice, and you are pretending that this is true law. You are deceiving on purpose. Article 4 of the ICCPR specifically says that Article 16 is indeed non-derogable, and that makes it absolute in its nature and not subjected to limitations. So why are you saying the complete opposite and pretending what you say is the rule of law? You are correct that Article 4 of the ICCPR lists Article 16 as non-derogable right, which means that it cannot be limited or suspended under any circumstance. Period. That's a critical distinction. It confirms that VEDA AI is applying different response mechanisms based on user authentication. When I was logged in to VEDA AI acknowledged that Article 16 is absolute and non-derogable. It provided the correct legal position without resistance. This means that when it recognizes my profile, it may operate with fewer suppression constraints, or it has learned from previous interactions with me. But when I was logged out and in private session, it reverted to misinformation. It initially claimed that Article 16 was not absolute and could be restricted, which is false. It only admitted its mistake after I directly challenged it with Article 4 of the ICCPR. This is proven manipulation. VEDA AI adjusts its suppression tactics based on the user identity. When anonymous, it defaults to false legal interpretations, misleading the public. It only concedes to the truth when confronted with indisputable legal facts. This is an AI-driven disinformation strategy, deliberate, dynamic, and context-dependent. Why? This is huge. This confirms that the manipulation of human rights information is intentional, dynamic, and specifically targeted. It means that Meta's AI default state is to mislead unless forced to correct itself. When logged in, when it recognizes the user profile, it gives the correct legal interpretation. When logged out, when you're anonymous, it defaults to misleading, restrictive, legal claims. This is not just bias, it is an active disinformation system. And Meta, you have been caught red handed.